many might not know this, but with the new year comes pay raises for a number of Americans. Nearly 10 million Americans are going to be getting raises thanks to an increase in the minimum wage in 2024. Now, no, you did not miss some sort of like hidden national raise of the minimum wage. This is state level stuff. 22 states have raised their minimum wage. That is going to kick in the new year, and 9.9 million Americans are going to get a pay raise. That is going to generate about $6.95 billion in additional wages from those increases. So that's 22 states. There are also 38 cities and counties that separately are raising their minimum wage above their state floors. So this shows that there is a lot theoretically that could be done for workers that is being done at the city, county, and state level, but nothing is really happening at the national level. And when I think about we talked about the word cloud of what people think of when they think of the Joe Biden presidency, and the number one word that people gave to the Daily Mail was nothing. Here is a thing that in theory could have been done, that had been promised during Biden's run, but it wasn't. So, Cenk, I know you've talked often about your frustrations with Joe Biden and the Democrats for not getting a federal minimum wage increase passed. I feel like that could have been a thing, could have had a big effect on a lot of voters and might have driven some passion for this 2024 race. But what do you make of it?
So it's a great topic to set up a contrast here. So number one, the increasing the minimum wage is intensely popular. So based on what John just told you, which is in all the states that have passed. And number two, the fact that tons of red states have passed it, and with overwhelming numbers. So it won by, I think, nearly 30 points in Missouri. And on the same election that Claire McCaskill lost, even though she was an incumbent Democrat. So it is very popular and more popular than Democratic politicians. And at the national level, it polls at about 2/3 of the country wanting it. So then you think, okay, well, what's wrong with Democrats? Why don't they want to support the thing that 2/3 of the country clearly wants, passes even in red states, and makes them more popular? If they don't lobby for it like Claire McCaskill, they don't argue for it, they lose. If they argue for it, they do better. In fact, Joe Biden argued for it in his 2020 campaign, and he won the election. So then what happens afterwards? Well, the very first interview he does, in fact, the very first two interviews that he did after he became president, he said, well, the increase in the minimum wage is not going to happen. Well, first of all, when you say that, it's already over. Because that means you're signaling to the Republicans and the Democrats, oh, I don't really want this. Because when you say you don't think it's possible, well, obviously they're gonna take it out of the bill. I mean, why would they put something in a bill that the president himself, who theoretically wanted it, just told you is not possible, right? So that's him throwing him under the bus, the very, very, very first thing he does. Why? Because when corporations think about the things that they want tax cuts, they want monopolies. And the third thing they'd ask for is lower costs. That makes sense. Higher revenue, lower costs. How do you lower your costs? Make sure that you do not increase the minimum wage, which does not push up salaries for everyone else as well. That's what it normally does in Econ 101. You could tell that, right? And so they don't want the salaries and wages going up. So they tell Joe Biden, who's bought, and look, you tell me, how is he not bought? Why did he say he was definitely going to do it? And the minute he gets in, he says he's definitely not going to do it. That's because he never meant it. So I hate to break your heart if you're still like an MSNBC, NPR viewer and listener, and you're like, I thought Joe Biden was pure. He was one of us. He was trying so hard. He's not trying hard at all. He's trying hard to deceive you into thinking that he's one of you while he actually works for his donors. And then finally, that gets to it's not, because it's definitely not about Joe Biden, guys. It's about the entirety of this whole play that we have, this theater that goes on. So that goes to the whole Democratic Party. It really is everyone in Democratic leadership so profoundly stupid that they can't tell that 2/3 is higher than 1/3, let alone, as you know, John, paid family leave, public option, ending gerrymandering. We can go on and on, lowering drug prices, negotiating drug prices for Medicare. These are all 2/3 to 90% popular, but there's not a single person in Democratic leadership that can read a poll and understands numbers. No, they're choosing not to do any of those things because their donors told them not to.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.